Welcome back to Reads and Threads. My name's Kate. Hello if you're new here. Welcome back if you're joining us again. Today we're going to be going through my July wrap up, what I thought of, what I read, what I didn't get to, and what I ended up having to roll over into August. So if you don't already, grab a drink. I've got one in my new favourite cup that I got while I was on holiday the other week in Queensland, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So get comfy. Hopefully this won't be a super long video, though there are a fair few books to talk about. So let's get on into it. Okay, so in July I did read 11 books. Now we're going to be using that number fairly loosely because of those 11, I actually DNF 4. My game gave me 6 rolls. One I wasn't able to get my hands on, which I do have now, was Legion by Brandon Sanderson. This is an extremely thin little book. It's only 69 pages and it took so long to come in at the library. I think picked it up 2 days ago, and as of filming this we are on, it is August the 10th today. I think I can knock this out today. I have started it this morning. I've only read like 10 pages, but that's not nearly 1/7 of the way through. It's gonna be a short, quick read. I just didn't get to it in this one. We'll find out what I thought about this in my August wrap up. The other one that I didn't quite get to was my book for Buzzword Challenge, which was Mark Lawrence's The Book That Wouldn't Burn. It needed to have punctuation in the title, which this one does. I am still eager to try this. None of the other books that I read this month that we're going to go over fit the Buzzword Challenge, so unfortunately this is the first time that I have failed to read the Buzzword Challenge book within the month that it was meant to be allocated. I'm hoping in August that I will be able to get through this and my other Buzzword Challenge book, as well as the rest of my TBR, but we'll see how I go. So again, you'll find out about this one in my August wrap up. We'll quickly go through some of the stats for this month. So like I said, I have read 11 books, which worked out to a page count of 2,027, which is very down, I think, from the previous months, but it's just how it's worked out. So it works out to an average pages per day of 65.39, and considering a couple of them are fairly hefty, it just baffles my brain. Anyway, of the 7 that I completed, I gave 4 4-stars and 3 3-stars. Of those 7, 1 was a new release and 6 were backlist titles. The formats that I read them in, I did 3 on audio, 2 physical, 1 ebook, and 1 where I mixed the audio and the ebook. Of the ones that I DNF'd, I did 2 on audio and 2 on ebook. The series, I finished 2 series, I started 3 series, and then 2 were companion novels. Again, of the ones I DNF'd, 1 was a sequel in a series and 3 were the start of a series, I think. Age demographics now, 2 were middle grade, 3 were young adult, 2 were adult, and the 4 that I DNF'd were adult. How I acquired these, I read 2 on Audible, 3 via the library, 1 I borrowed off of my niece, but we'll go into that, 1 on Apple Books, and of the DNFs, 2 were ARCs and 2 I own physically, though I did borrow the audio versions for those from the library. Of the 11 actually, 9 were fantasy and 2 were romantasy. So that's just our short, sharp and shiny stats. Let's get into what I actually thought of the books that I did read. We started off the month really strong. I ended up finishing the Oromir Chronicles by Helen Schurer and thoroughly enjoyed myself. The first one that I read this month was War of Mist, and I think that this was a really great ending to the story. It was so much fun seeing how Helen interchanged this world with the Siren Queen series. The character development was great. I really liked the ending of the series. I really loved how the characters all came together. There were some betrayals, there was some shocking sections. Overall, I just think this is a really enjoyable series. If you haven't given it a go, I highly recommend it. These are young adult, as is the Siren Queen series. I haven't read Helen's adult series yet. I am eager to get to that one. Though how much I really enjoyed these, and knowing the level of spice that is in the Legends of Thesma series and the Ashes of Thesma series, I am hoping that that won't put me off. Like, I feel like sometimes too much spice can be a bit much, but I am still really eager to try. Helen has shot her way up to one of my favorite authors. I have had an absolute ball. I read all of these 2 series, so Oromia and the Siren Queen series by audio, and they were so well done. I have recently bought the Siren Queen series in paperback, and I would love to get my hands on the Oromia series. I did end up having a look at it, but haven't purchased it for some reason yet, but it was a really good time. I would probably reread this series, and I gave War of Mist 4 stars. Like I said, absolute ball. Really loved the world building, the characters, and just a great fun time. I then finished off that series with a set of short stories that run alongside this series, and that was called Dawn of Mist. In the version that I got this on Audible, all of the 4 collection is together, so it just goes into one book after the other. And it, like I said, so good. So this Dawn of Mist is made up of 9, I think, individual short stories that just slot in. And I like keeping all of these short stories to the end of the series to make sure that there is no chance for me getting spoiled in any way. And I think it worked out really well. It's not something that you have to read or slot in between the trilogy, or even when you're doing the Siren Queen trilogy. Again, those short stories, you can just leave them till the end. It won't spoil anything. It'll just give you that extra little bit of information at the end and just add to the whole overall world. Helen's imagination is amazing. It was just so much fun. These short stories were super quick to get through. I think it was like I'm gonna say 8-hour book, but I could be completely wrong because that is just going off memory. But it didn't take me very long to get through. But yeah, such a good little addition to the story. Highly recommend. I gave those 4 stars as well. I just think it capped it off really great. Bleak as a character grows so much throughout the series. You find out so many secrets and details about her past that even she was blocking out, which were just so interesting. All the characters come together. I found that the types of characters, so there's like a Valkyrie type of group of female warriors that are so kick-ass, and it was just really great. And then I think maybe at the end, them overthrowing the big bad was slightly fast, but so good. Had such a great time. They aren't 5 stars for me, but they're so good. And I'm just going to keep saying that because I don't know how else to get you to give them a go. If you are willing to give young adult a go, I think these are really great. So highly recommend. Then, because it was so early in the month and HRCYED, if you don't know, was about to start on July 7th, I was being really picky about the books that I was picking up, knowing that I was going to be starting this year-long reading challenge. So if you don't know what HRCYED is, it's the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. It's put out by QWERTY. I will leave all the links down below, so go check it out. It's not too late to join and give it a go. It's only a month in. You can knock it out. So knowing that HRCYED was about to start and having watched a fair few of the announcement videos, the how-tos, all that kind of stuff, I just thought these were probably ones that I would give a go to begin with. And they're the 2 arcs that I was honoured to get to be able to read. Unfortunately, neither of them hit for me. That's not to say that they aren't good books overall, they are just not for me. So the first arc that I did try was Of the Stars and Sea. Sorry, I'm reading the title because I get it mixed up so often when I'm trying to recall it. And that was by Brianna Remus. I got an ebook version of this. I managed to get 138 pages in. I think overall it was about 400-ish pages in total. And we were following some seafaring pirates who were after this ultimate treasure that was going to lead to freedom. And it didn't hit. So it was too romance for me. There wasn't enough world building and fantasy within the whole premise. Again, the instantaneous lust to possible love with the female main character and the arch enemy love interest was just a bit much for me. I just couldn't do it. I like a slow burn character development, kind of sneaky romance put in there where the fantasy is the forefront other than the romance. And I think that was just it. So if you are more into romance than fantasy, just like a little bit of background world building, this might be the one for you. It has an awesome cover, which is really what drew me in. Plus the synopsis sounded epic. But unfortunately, I did stop and won't be picking that series back up. The other arc that I did attempt was Cursed by the Fae by Jennifer Redmile. This one was really short. It was only 200 pages and I probably could have finished it if I was inclined. In the end, I stopped at only 25 pages in. I was hard to figure out whether this was part of a series or not. On Goodreads, I think it said it was like number 4 in a series, whereas in the arc write-up and the info I got, it sounded like it wasn't, but I do kind of feel like there was some story before this that I missed. Again, I don't know that the character development was that great for me. It was very heavy on the romance and same kind of deal. I felt like I was missing too much of the story, that the characters weren't bedded out enough, I guess. They weren't easy to get attached to. They were a married couple who were about to have a baby, and then something's going to happen with her fate and a fated mate thing. So I was finding that slightly confusing, how you can have like fated mates yet they're married, and then so I just decided to DNF this one again. If you've already read some of Jennifer Redmile's series, this one will probably be a really good addition for you. And again, if you like more romance than fantasy, probably right up your alley as well. But unfortunately for me, it just didn't hit, so I have DNF'd that one. But thank you so much to both the authors for letting me have early edition copies and the publishers, however that is organised. I do really appreciate you giving me an early arc of it so that I could give it a go. Like I said, HRCYED kicked off on this 7th of July. And I started it with my most anticipated read of the month, of the year. I was so excited to read this book, and that was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This cover is insane. I don't match. I was so glad that I did manage to get my hands on a copy of this. This is the Fairy Loot edition. If I haven't shown it off enough already, it just, oh, I love it to pieces. It's going to have, and it does already, even before I redo my shelves, have pride of place on my bookshelves behind me, right in the middle of the frame. I was so excited to get to this. It had such a good premise. I was so intrigued. I'd heard such good things about Rachel Gillig, and it didn't disappoint. Overall, I did give this one 4 stars. It wasn't a 5-star read, unfortunately, but I had such a good time reading it. My favourite character is definitely Bartholomew, who is a gargoyle and just so good. He's so funny and so cute and just so wholesome. I really did like the interactions between our female main character, Sybil, and our male main character, Roderick. I thought that they were really interesting. I liked their banter back and forth. The whole premise was extremely interesting. So Sybil is a diviner and Roderick is a knight. So, and it is kind of like a gothic fantasy-esque setup with the plot. So there's a whole heap of areas within the world that each have this kind of human or god that oversee them. And Sybil finds out some stuff that doesn't sit well with her. Her fellow diviners have gone missing, and so she goes on a quest to find out what's going on and learns some hard truths and comes across some very interesting characters. She ends up having to battle the omens in each of the areas of the world. It's a really good setup. It'll be interesting to see where this series goes from the end. I was originally even though like I knew it was called the Stonewater Kingdom book 1, I kind of still had in my head for some reason that it was going to be a standalone. I don't know why. I am eager to see what happens next. I think this is now, after looking into it, going to be a duology. So hopefully we don't have to wait too long for the next one. If you liked Rachel Gillig's other series and have read that, so One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, definitely give this one a go. If you haven't read her at all, definitely give this one a go. I am super eager to get to her other 2 books, which I haven't read. I really liked Rachel's writing style. It is fairly, I'm going to say lyrical, but I don't know if that is necessarily the right word. Whimsical-ish, maybe? I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time, and I'm so happy I have this edition. It's my pride and joy. Love it to pieces. Definitely check this one out. I think next up we'll talk about the other 2 books that I did end up DNFing. They are, I think, the books that I tried next within the month. They are from an author that I have read from before and really enjoyed. Unfortunately, these ones just weren't it. So the first one was The Rogue by Trudy Canavan. So this is the second book in the Traitor Spy trilogy. I read the first one in this trilogy back in April, and I think I remember telling you when I was doing my TBR that I thought it didn't really need to be a trilogy. It kind of just finished. It didn't really need to go anywhere else. Like, I'm sure there is more story to be told. I just wasn't that interested. So this time I did try and did manage to get a copy of this on audio via BorrowBox from the library. And I have to say the narrator was not for me. His voice was just really, I don't know how to describe it, but it just didn't really sound like the character. So I ended up stopping at would have been 46 pages. Which isn't that far into it. I think that's only within chapter 3. I do still have a bookmark in there, so I'm going to take that out before I forget that it's still in there. And I just thought, I don't care. I really don't care. So I think I'm going to unhaul the rest of this series. And unfortunately, when we talk about the next one, that one as well. I really did enjoy the Black Magician trilogy, and I think I'm just going to stick with that from now on. And that kind of leads into the next book anyway as well, because it is by the same author, Trudy Canavan, and that is Priestess of the White. This was another series of hers that wasn't in the same world. So this is one setting up a new world, whereas the Traitor Spy was still in the same universe as the Black Magician, just like 20 years later. This one was a completely new series. This one, again, I tried via audio. It had a female narrator whose voice was just a lot better. However, in saying that, I put it on while I was driving across town, I think, and it felt like it was taking forever and nothing was happening. So I don't know if either of these would have been better if I was physically reading them or not. I don't know. And again, I got to the point where I didn't care enough to try. The world building in this one, I think I got to chapter 3. With this one was a bit longer, so I got to page 56. Again, my bookmark's in there, so you need to take that out. So I got to page 56 on this one, and it was just so slow. Nothing had really happened. I know that that isn't a super huge amount into the book, but I just knew, again, that this setup wasn't for me. We were following a girl who had become a priestess of the white, and they are meant to uphold religion, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, though she kind of cheated her way there from the sounds of it, but I just wasn't interested, and I just thought I'm just going to cut my losses and move on. So I will be unhauling all of the series that I have. So I had the full trilogy of Priestess of the White and the Traitor Spy, and those are going to go to my friend who is going to put them in her new little library that she's creating for the front of her house. So hopefully these will end up at someone's house who will really enjoy them and appreciate having a full set. The next book that I read, I didn't really have on my radar. It wasn't part of my original TBR for the month. After I put out my HRCYED planning video, I got a lot of help from you lovely viewers on possibilities for what I could read for certain prompts. One of the challenges that we have to do is create a quote and then read a book with each word within that quote in the title of another book. So my quote is, "Mother Night and May the Darkness Be Merciful," which is from Anne Bishop's The Black Jewels trilogy. Specifically, I think I put down The Daughter of the Blood, but they say it so often through that whole series. You could probably pick any book. Anne Bishop and that series in particular are my favourite books ever. I love them to pieces. I have reread them so many times. I just absolutely love her characters and her world that she's created and her magic system. I just think they're awesome. So I needed a book for Mother, Night, May, Be, etc., etc. So of the ones that are on my TBR, there were 3 words that I was really struggling with: Mother, Be, and May. And one of the viewers said that there was a book as part of the Disney Twisted Tales series called Fate Be Changed. And this one was written by Farah Rochon. This one I did manage to pick up as an audio. The audio was really well done. I really enjoyed it. So this one is Merida's story with a twist. So where Merida's mother, generally in the movie, gets turned into a bear because Merida goes to the witch and asks her to be less judgmental, maybe. I can't remember what she asked her. Anyway, in this one, Merida is sent back in time, and it turns out she's sent back to right before her mother and father are about to meet. And it's actually Merida that's turning into the bear this time. Merida has asked for her fate to be different. She wants to decide what's going to happen. She doesn't want to have a husband chosen for her, etc., etc., etc. And in the end, she nearly scuppers her whole existence. It was a really good read. Like I said, the audio was great. I did think it was probably a tad too long. This one is 454 pages. There was a fair bit in the middle that probably could have got taken out. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. It's just an easy, enjoyable read. This is technically a YA. Some of the Twisted Tales are middle grade and then others are young adult. But overall, really enjoyable. If you like Disney and the Disney movies, these are just plays on the movies and just a lot of fun. So recommend. Just an easy, quick read if you're interested, and a very good audio. The next book I managed to finish off was my In Real Life Book Club's book for this month, which was Havenfall by Sarah Holland. Again, this one is a YA. It was one that I started physically and then ended up finishing off on audio. I managed to get my hands on both versions from the library. It's an interesting setup. The girl, Maddie, goes to an inn which she sees as her comfort place. It's run by her uncle, and it turns out this inn is kind of a portal to other worlds. So the inn has doors that go to other multiverse regions and worlds. And a lot of these doors have been closed. There is only 2 that are currently open at the moment. And when she gets there, her uncle is attacked by a creature from a world that is meant to have its door shut. So they are kind of like shape-shifting, werewolfy animal kind of creatures. And oh god, I just realized that's a face. Sorry. That didn't twig. I didn't see that till just then. Anyway, Maddie has to take over the running of the inn and make decisions that I think in some ways are just too much for a teenager to be put in those situations. She's not confident. She has a lot going on. Her mother is on death row for apparently killing her brother, and some info comes out along the lines of that storyline. It's just her dealing with a lot and trying to figure out who's telling the truth, who's not. I think a lot of it needed a little bit of sharpening up. That through a lot of the book, Maddie is just going on and on about how grateful she is to be at Havenfall or at Haven. And I think that got very repetitive through the whole thing. Though this is just a duology, and I definitely could see myself picking up the next one and finishing off. I'm also not overly fussed if I don't. I gave this one overall 3 stars, and I think from what everyone said at book club the other week that everyone kind of thought it was fairly average. It's not a bad book. It's not an awesome one either. It is a very run-of-the-mill, easy time, decent YA. Whether I do end up continuing it, I'm not ruling it out. But like I said, I'm not going after it. I will put the next one in my game and my want to read. So if it does come up, it comes up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we'll see how I go. The next book that I finished, I ended up finishing right before the live show. Sorry, spacing. I ended up tabbing this book out because it is very chunky and I wanted to take my time, and that is Wrath by John Gwynne. This is the last book in the Faithful and the Fallen series, so it was the ultimate climax to the whole storyline. This one I was reading for Catch Up Book Club by Becca and the Books, and the live show that I'm referring to was the live show on, I think it was on her channel, so I will link the live show down below. And I still haven't watched it. So I was so happy with myself that I did stick to my page count pretty much every day. Like I said, slowly went through it. Some days I read a little bit more, other days a little bit less, but overall I managed to get it done. I was so happy with myself. I really, really wanted to finish it and then completely have just forgotten to watch the live show. What I thought of this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I think that this was a good ending. There were some chapters I really didn't want to read because I was so worried that he was going to kill off a character that I really liked and enjoyed, or that it would just ruin me completely. If you don't know, this is an extremely large multicast epic fantasy where we are following good versus evil. So the bright star and the black sun prophesized on Earth, which isn't Earth, it's the Banished Lands. Anyway, they're prophesized and the world is going to band behind either one. And then there will be an epic battle to see who will come out on top. I was hoping beyond hope that it was just going to be one of those ones where good would definitely triumph. And then seeing where all the characters fell among the opposing sides was extremely interesting. Seeing some of them come to realizations that they were not fighting for who they thought they were was intriguing. Seeing them all come together at the end, I did really enjoy having their interactions, some that hadn't ever met in any of the 3 other books meeting in this one. Overall, I think it was really well done. John Gwynne can definitely write a battle scene. The last section of this book is just one long battle and it was such a good ride. I was really upset about a couple of things that happened, and overall just really great. This isn't though my favorite in the series. I think I probably enjoyed Ruin the most. But this was just a really good ending, and I am eager to get back to the Banished Lands in the next series that we will be reading, which is Of Blood and Bone. The first one being A Time of Dread. So this is the next book that we're going to be reading in Catch Up Book Club. So happy that I managed to get my hands on that one. And eager to get back in, though I do know that that series is set like 100 or something, 200 years after the end of this one. So unfortunately we're not going to get any of our characters, and the ending did kind of leave some stuff up to your imagination. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what happened with these characters overall, but really good series, really enjoying John Gwynne's writing and looking forward to trying more from him in the future. The next book that I managed to sneak into my July reading, I technically finished on August 1st, but I'm counting it as a July book. And that is The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone by Jacqueline Moriarty. This one was a special request by my niece Chloe. She has extremely enjoyed this series and really wanted me to read it. And talk about it to you all in my videos, to the point where I think that we're going to have to add in a new section of extra reads to my game, which are Chloe's special picks, because it turns out there's not one book in this series, there are 5, and she is extremely eager for me to try them all. Luckily, I did enjoy this book. I've given it 3.5 stars. I think this one is definitely targeted to the audience that it is targeted at. So this is a middle grade series, although it is 495 pages still. There is some pages that are full pictures. Overall, it's impressive. She has liked these so much that she has read them twice. Each, all 5. This one we're following Bronte Meadlestone. He is an 10-year-old whose parents are killed by pirates. She, however, isn't overly fussed by this development, as she has been living her entire life with her aunt after being left in the foyer of her aunt's building. So she doesn't really have any to her parents whatsoever. However, in their will, they have decreed that Bronte needs to go visit all 12 of her aunts and deliver them all a gift. And then at the end of that, there will be a party at her last aunt's house. However, because of some fairy cross stitch that is on the edge of the wheel, Bronte has to do this alone and has to stick to the plan in place, or her hometown is going to crumble to ruin. So a 10-year-old is sent off on an epic adventure. She comes across dragons and pirates and gets attacked at sea and just meets a whole heap of intriguing characters. She manages to save people. She gets awards of courage. It's an epic adventure. The thing that I probably didn't like as much about it was some of the writing. There was a fair bit of double negatives within it, like just the way that the characters were talking to each other did frustrate me slightly. But I think from my niece's point of view, being the age that this book is actually aimed for, I don't know that she finds that a problem at all. So I think this is an experience where I might be slightly too old to really get the overall major enjoyment of this book, whereas there are some middle grade children's fiction that I have read that even as an adult I can just get right into, and I don't feel like it's a children's book that I am reading. Whereas this one, I probably felt like I in my head I knew I was reading a kid's book, probably too much. I wasn't developed into the series. But if you have any 9, 10, 11-year-olds out there that you think this one will be great for, I have a feeling they're going to really enjoy it. The other thing that slightly put me off was the fact that it was Jacqueline Moriarty. And when I was looking into this, I found out that she was the sister of Leanne Moriarty, who I have just read one of her books from and really didn't like it. So I was slightly worried that that was going to be the case with this one. And knowing how much Chloe loved this series, me not liking it wasn't really going to be the best outcome overall. I did enjoy this one though. It was an easy read. I gave, like I said, 3.5 stars. And I am interested to see where the rest of the series goes. I know that this one isn't Chloe's favourite. I think the 3rd one in the series is her favourite. So in the next one, we go back and find out about a war that is mentioned in this one in one of the realms, which will be interesting to see what happens. So different cast of characters. I don't know if Bronte comes back into it in later books or not, but I guess I'll find out, and I'm sure Chloe will love telling me about it. And that's just one of the good things that I really enjoyed, is I have had a little bit of a chat with her over the phone after I finish reading this book. I go and have dinner with her once a week. So when I get to go again, I'm just going to be really intrigued to literally talk to her about this and find out all the stuff that she really loves about it. And I just think that that's going to be a lot of fun. So this series especially, will definitely be coming up in my next videos. So my TBR videos, there will be a new little area which will be just Chloe's special reads. And yeah, highly recommend this if you have a child in your life that really likes adventure fantasy. Overall, I'm really happy with all the books I did manage to get to in July. I had a really good month reading. I wrapped up a couple of series, started a few more, and yeah, looking forward to what is going to come next. What were your favorite books over July? Have you read any of the ones that I finished? Do you think I made a mistake not giving the Trudy Canavan a go, or more of a go than I did? It probably won't stop me from unhauling it, but I'd love to discuss with you down the bottom what you liked so much about them if you have read those ones. I hope that your reading was great. If you watched through this video and don't have much to say but like to let me know that you were here, leave me a little dragon for the Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone. There is a dragon within that series and she gets to take a ride on it, which would just be so much fun. I hope that your reading, like I said, was absolutely great. If you would like to subscribe but you haven't already, I do release a video once a week, so please feel free to hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you on board. If you'd like to follow me, I do have down below my Goodreads, my Storygraph, and my Instagram, so please feel free to come along and join me over on any of those platforms. And I just hope that wherever you are having a really wonderful day. And we'll see you next time. Bye.